Thanks again, guys, for your time. We appreciate it as always. I've got Emirates Lions head coach Ivan van Rooyen and Emirates Lions captain Burger Odendaal. Looking ahead to our game against Glasgow Warriors tomorrow at Scotstoun. So I'll open the floor now with the questions.
Ivan, I suppose the first question is around fly-off, another injury, and exactly what is Eddie's injury and how long is his layoff for, and are you expecting to fly somebody in?
Hello, Jan. Yeah, obviously not ideal losing 2 fly-offs in a week. Looks like Eddie did an ankle. Obviously, within the next 48 hours, we should be able to get better feedback regarding scans and all of that. It happened yesterday in the session. And whether we can fly someone in is all depending on the new ruling with us being off the red list. I know Rudolf and the URC is in discussions there of what's allowed, what's not allowed. The moment we should be able to fly someone in, we will fly someone in. But like I say, I mean, I think it's unfair for me to sit here and try and convince everyone that Eva is out and out fly off. But what I can say is over the last year and a half, he's really trained there quite often for us. So it's obviously a challenge, but it's also gives us something else. Having basically 3 centers defending next to one another could be a benefit. So no, it's just a challenge for us and one that we're looking forward to.
I mean, how does that impact on your game? I mean, obviously the flyers that you normally play with have their own styles, but how does it impact if somebody usually plays much further out? How does it impact on your game?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that it's probably a little bit more of a shared responsibility now. So between 9, 10, 15, even 12, it's just that sharing the kicking responsibility, sharing probably a little bit more proactive communication around our organization, whether we're kicking or attacking or defending. I don't think it's going to change the way we're going to play drastically. But like I said, there's three big bodies next to one another on defense and attack, and it could bring a slightly different element to our game.
Cash, who is your designated goal kicker?
Lions. So EWS. Hy oefen elke dag saam al die skoppers nou van die begin wat hy by ons is, so net sal EWS.
Dankie julle.
Burger, obviously you guys has had a chance to look at the opposition. A couple of South African teams have played them. What do you guys expect? I mean, obviously Scotstoun is a very different field. I mean, the one thing, I suppose we got a couple of athletic track RAU type stadiums in South Africa, but have you guys played before in a stadium where you're that far removed from the stands and you got this massive track around the pitch?
Yeah, I think it's probably the first time for a couple of guys playing a match on the 3G pitch. I think it was a different element for the guys as well this week. We had the opportunity to train on a pitch like that as well. And yeah, it's a bit different. But yeah, looking at Glasgow, I think they want to play with the ball. I think it's going to depend on the weather as well. So yeah, we don't want to focus too much on them. I think from last week, we had a lot of work-ons, and we just want to rectify that this weekend. And yeah, a bit of challenges with the injuries and all that, but yeah, it's not an excuse for us. We still have to get out and give a great performance for 80 minutes this weekend. Hopefully the Scarlets are more focused on us than on themselves.
Burger even touched on it, the importance of communication, given that you don't have a genuine out-and-out fly-off. How do you see that developing in the game itself, and what do you see your role in that communication as the captain?
Yeah, I think communication is going to be vital, especially this weekend. I think something that we pointed out from last week was a lack or error in communication, especially. I think when we got under the pump and the pressure was on us, we almost got quiet on the field, and I think that showed almost throughout the entire game last week. So the pressure is going to be on us to keep communicating, even if we're under the pump and even when things are going our way. And especially with a guy like Eva starting in at fly-off, it's a pivotal role in the team. So the communication from 9, 10, 12, 15 is just going to have to be top notch this weekend, just to get him comfortable in that uncomfortable situation.
Cash, skis. Sorry, guys. Yeah, skis for daai een. Cash, just on that, I know you guys definitely weren't, necessarily satisfied with the things that transpired last week, but you guys must feel encouraged by the fact that you guys started so well against Zebra. That you guys could implement your things so accurately within the first week, basically of a competition. So that, guys, must give you confidence that just with a touch of more, accuracy and perhaps commitment, that you guys can easily reach those levels again, particularly given that you guys are in a rhythm now.
Thanks, Heinz. Yeah, I think that first 40 minutes against Zebra was probably one of the best games in terms of communication and accuracy we've played in the last year and a half. And like Burger just mentioned, we were quite harsh on this week, because I felt when the pressure came on against Scarlets, that was probably the two areas where we slipped the most. So it's a big emphasis for us this week to communicate early and proactive, cut out the fluff, the white noise, but increase the battle talk, because that get everyone into positions and it makes decision making a lot easier. So for us, it's important to focus on the many things that eventually help put the puzzle together. And like I said, I think as you mentioned, that first 40 minutes against Zebra, we were really good there, and we weren't good enough for that against the Scarlets. Playing against a well-organized, exciting Glasgow team, even more so. It's important for us to consistently do the small things right, and when we're not achieving it like the way we want to, then proactive communication to assist one another there is even more important.
Hi guys.
Ga maar Marianne.
Ach, excuse Jan. Sorry, Jan. So, just about Wally being on the bench. Is that just to give him a bit of a rest, maybe for 40 or 50 minutes, because he played a lot, or are you obviously you're looking to him to make a big impact then in the second half? And regarding specifically two changes at the front on number 8 and number 1, is that because of injuries or was that rotation?
No, there's a fair bit of rotation, to be honest. Rowan Dreyer did come off with a slight tricep niggle, and just don't feel it's worth the risk to risk him this game. So he is resting a bit, even though he is training fully with us since yesterday. And yeah, Wandy, if the game allow it, and it's open and quick, I think he could be devastating that last 20-30 minutes, and vice versa. When the game is really tight, he's the kind of player that can produce a brilliant moment of excellence and change the game for us. So rotation, but with him being on the bench, him being fresh that last 20-30 minutes could actually make a significant difference.
I'll try this one again. Ivan, given that you're still the only South African team to have won a match in Europe in this competition, how important does winning become so that the guys can actually start believing the other teams that because I mean there's obviously a lot of criticism of the South African team performances, or do you just focus on yourself and what you're trying to achieve and how you're trying to improve yourself?
Jana, I want to say a bit of both. Obviously, we really focus a lot on ourselves currently with a couple of new guys, with new coaches, with all of that. feel the more energy we can put into ourselves to fix ourselves, the better we should be in consistency and output and performance. But also saying that it's important for the South African teams to do well, to adapt quickly, to assess different circumstances, different fields, different teams, different coaching styles, different referees. So it's also important for us to adapt there and to, I almost want to say, to swim quickly. So we're really committed to not just taking us forward, but also getting results in the competition, even though it's away from home. It almost feels like 2014, 15 Super Rugby tour, where you're there, you're not there, you might win one or two, you might not win one or two, and we want to fast track that learning as quick as possible. So for us, it's focusing 80% of our time on us in the week, but also in the bigger picture of the URC and South African teams. It will be awesome the moment we can start winning consistently.
As a follow-up to that, Ivan, I mean, you were part of that initial, it was a really bad time, and then guys started winning and it got really good. Obviously, it takes time. New teams, new systems doesn't come at a drop of a hat. How important are those lessons, and how can you apply them in this and maybe speed up the process?
Yeah, Jan, I think that's a great question. There is one or two similarities from then and now. We also had quite a relatively youngish, inexperienced group back then. And even though there's a good hand of senior campaigners with us currently, the 60% of the squad is still under 23. So it's the understanding of the whole group in terms of importance and relevance of their responsibility. It's also the fast tracking of communication. That's what's such a big thing for us this week, is you can only, once you see something or once you hear something, you can make decisions and you can react. If everyone keeps quiet, then you're watching a silent movie and missing half of the detail and half of what's happening. And I think something that can speed the process up is when we communicate proactively with one another, and when the individual in the system understands how important his mini role, every single repetition, every single scrum, every single attack or defensive set, and to do that consistently throughout the game. And I think that's where we're inconsistent currently, and similar to 2013-14, the moment we realized that you decrease the lesser mistakes you make, and it's going to sound ridiculously obvious, but the lesser mistakes you make, the higher the chance of winning. And that did take us about 2 seasons in Super Rugby, and once we minimized that and converted the opportunity, I mean, we could feel 2015, 16, 17, 18, the effect thereof. So for us, it's a big focus currently to be consistent in application of what we want to do with the individuals.
Does the new competition assist with that? I mean, obviously, playing the same teams over and over makes it difficult because they know you know them. But playing in a new competition like you did back then and suddenly back in Super Rugby, does that aid you in getting these guys to believe? I think it's similar to Super Rugby, where every single team can beat every single opponent on any specific day. So that probably makes it a little bit more difficult, but also after you've won one or two, I think the belief could come a little bit earlier. So I think just if you look at the last 3-4 years, every team can beat anyone on any day, depending on weather, depending on a lot of things. So that's the reason why it's so important for us to do the little things right, but also in my opinion, that's why we need to focus a lot on ourselves, because the moment we're consistently better, that obviously increases the chance.
Anything else, guys?
I'm good, thank you.
All good. Thank you, gents.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, guys. We appreciate it.
Dank julle. Lekker dag.
All the best, guys.
Good luck, Owens.